This is the Autism bite-sized session on routines, points of reference. This is from the World Autism Acceptance Month, April 2025. As always, we would like you to consider self-care. Some of the topics we may discuss could be triggering. Please take a break and, if necessary, look for sources of help. We have to consider that the world can be a chaotic place. For autistic children and young people, it can be a highly chaotic place. Increasing demands, rules, expectations, especially rules and expectations created by a neurotypical society. The expectations to socialise in rules, friendships, changes to routines, all of which add to the chaos. But on top of this, we have to consider the sensory world. This can create even more chaos, more stress, more anxiety. The world can very quickly become overwhelming. To support an autistic child or young person, we have points of reference. These provide some safety net, some cover, some safety from the world of the chaos. This can be helpful, especially when there's things such as demands, sensory overload, changes. If we put enough of these points of reference together, we then have multiple points of reference or routines. So in this sense, a routine is being able to put together points of reference that give order and stability, that make sense of the world around, that allows an autistic young person to cope in a chaotic world. But sometimes, trying to navigate the chaotic world, we seem to assume that the autistic child or young person likes routine, craves routine. But in effect, if this routine is multiple points of reference, maybe it's the fact that the routine is a necessity. Not something that they're fond of, but something that they desperately need to give that stability and safety in a chaotic world. To stop them becoming overwhelmed from the sensory stimuli around them. But quite often, when we consider an autistic child in school, with all the demands, the changes, the sensory overload, we believe that they welcome the routines, that they stay with the routine because it is a like, a fondness, a wish. But quite often, when an autistic pupil starts school, we label their own points of reference as being restrictive. For that, we try and introduce a new routine, a routine of our choosing, something that's fixed by certain points in the day. We start school at such a time. We have breaks at specific times. We eat at specific times, and then we leave at a certain time. We fill all the hours in between with fixed routines. And as soon as the individual is identified as autistic, we make sure that that routine is enforced by visuals, by prompts, by cues. Sometimes some schools will even bring rewards in or consequences for not following routines. And the points of reference then become fixed, but they're not always chosen by the autistic child or pupil. That means sometimes they won't give them the safety net, that feeling of safety they have in their chaotic world. Sometimes there isn't the need or want to follow another person's routine if it doesn't make them feel safe, if it doesn't make order out of the chaos. Sometimes we've got to consider that a point of reference might not be an action, a place, an activity. That sense of safety, that ability to offer a safe base within a chaotic world, might actually be a person. So very quickly, a significant person in that autistic child's life might become that point of reference. It might not be the visuals, it might not be the activities that we put together, but rather it's the relationship they build with that key person that makes them feel safe, that helps them navigate a chaotic world. So sometimes when we're creating our routines, when we're stringing together those points of reference, we have to take into consideration the relationships in the child's life, because sometimes that is just as important to make them feel safe. We always say that an autistic person needs routine in their lives, to have those multiple points of reference that gives them the stability to help them cope in a chaotic world, to manage the overwhelming sensory inputs. But let's not think it just about a need. Let's think about, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need the points of reference because we would make the world less chaotic. Sometimes we have to acknowledge that we don't live in an ideal world. There'll always be change. There will be overwhelming sensory inputs. We can't always reduce all the demands, the expectations, the socialising, the friendship issues. So unfortunately, there will always be a need for those routines, those multiple points of reference. But sometimes when we change the way that we look at the world, we've got to ask ourselves, can we bring more order and structure so there is less reliance on those routines? Can we consider the relationships in their lives that might be those very tangible points of reference? But also consider, whose routine are we enforcing? Are we allowing them some sense of ownership of routines, of them being able to choose points of reference that they know will keep them safe? Or is it totally chosen by ourselves? Thank you for listening, and we hope you've enjoyed these Autism Bite-sized sessions.